Imagine the most vulnerable moment of your life, a time when your body has been through an absolute war, and your heart is overflowing with a new kind of love, yet also overwhelmed with exhaustion and fear. Now, imagine a person, someone who is supposed to be family, stepping into that sacred space and systematically dismantling your peace, your self-worth, and almost, your entire marriage. This isn't just a story, it's a raw, painful account of what happens when a mother-in-law's entitlement collides with a new mother's fragility. Before we dive into this emotional roller coaster, please hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and comment below with your own family drama stories. You might just see them featured next. When my husband and I were expecting our first child, we faced a monumental decision: who would stay with us after the baby arrived. The ideal scenario called for a grandmother to offer childcare and support for me, the new mom. But there was a significant problem. My husband's mother, my Mill, had a long-standing reputation for finding fault in everything and casting herself as the eternal victim. Her life narrative was a constant lament about her own strict Mill, her daughter's terrible marriage, and how her husband's mother was an evil witch who made her daughter-in-law a slog. Her bitterness was a relentless current, especially towards any woman who dared to appear happy in her married life. She had a particularly venomous disdain for women who underwent C-sections, scoffing that they chose the easy way out. She'd openly declare that today's generation of women were weak and selfish for not enduring the full agony of labor. Believe me, there were countless other pronouncements that would make your blood boil. Despite all this, my husband insisted that we couldn't possibly not have his mom present for the birth of her first grandchild. He was her only son, he argued, and she would feel utterly alienated if we didn't extend the invitation. I suspected her desire to be there had little to do with genuine support and everything to do with asserting her importance, preaching her own mothering superiority, and trying to feel relevant in her children's lives once more. Fast forward to the birth of our daughter. As planned, both my mom and my Mill were at our house. My own mother's presence was a godsend. I simply wasn't comfortable with anyone else seeing my postpartum body in its raw state. However, our precious baby struggled to latch, which meant I had no choice but to pump. We acquired a pre-loved Spectre pump, a common and effective model. One day, my Mill happened to see me using it. She looked at me, looked at the pump, and then burst out laughing, calling me a cow to my face. She'd never seen a breast pump before, but that hardly excused the cruelty of her words. To a woman already grieving the loss of her pre-pregnancy figure, missing her old self, and struggling with a new reality, it was a knife to the heart. I hadn't slept properly in 10 days. I was an emotional wreck, sleep-deprived, grappling with postpartum depression, and generally just seething from her incessant rants about how incredibly difficult her daughter's postpartum experience had been. When she called me a cow, something inside me just died. A deep, chilling bitterness began to fester inside me for my husband. I couldn't stop replaying the moments where he prioritized his sister and his mom, choosing to expose me to this emotional turmoil for no good reason. In my most vulnerable time, he had given more value to his mother, who offered me nothing but pain. I finally broke down in front of my husband after that cow comment. He was furious, and though he didn't confront his mother in front of me, he expressed his unhappiness to her privately. The baby still wouldn't latch, and I was overproducing milk, so pumping remained my only option. I hated holding those milk bottles, the tangle of wires, the constant whirring noise of the pump. There was something so raw and animal-like about the whole experience, and the thought of anyone seeing me do it made me feel absolutely terrible. I conveyed this to my husband, and he listened, empathizing with my pain. Of course, my Mill also found it amusing that a baby's latch could hurt my nipples. Deep inside, I was steadily distancing myself from my husband mentally. His life hadn't changed, he could resume work, his body hadn't undergone an ounce of change. Meanwhile, my breasts were engorged, I couldn't sit properly because of an episiotomy stitch, my hand ached from the IV drip, and my boobs constantly leaked milk. And in this dire situation, there was a woman, his mother, who laughed at my plight, minimized my struggles, and droned on about her own daughter's postpartum experience. Being tethered to that chair, pumping every 2 to 3 hours, only amplified these feelings of resentment and isolation. My husband made constant small gestures to try and make me feel better, but the fact that he didn't ask his mother to leave, despite her presence being a constant source of immense pressure and pain, made me despise him. Then, a turning point, following a friend's recommendation, he got me a Stacy wearable pump. It was a revelation. Suddenly, I wasn't tied down, no wires, no feeling like a dairy animal. My physical pain began to ease, as I no longer had to sit rigidly with straight shoulders. My vaginal bleeding also finally stopped, thankfully, as I delivered normally. Pumping became easier, and not having to wear a pad all the time reduced a significant amount of discomfort. 45 days after my delivery, my MILF finally left. She wanted to be able to tell her friends that she'd stayed for my entire postpartum period, served me, and upheld all the traditions. That day was, quite simply, the best day of my life. I couldn't even bring myself to say visit us soon, because I was terrified she might take it as an invitation to overstay or return. But I still carried an immense amount of pent-up rage over her comments. You're not the only working woman who has given birth. You should eat fast and look after the baby each second, and when will your tummy go inside? And, to top it all off, she told my husband, you need to give some gold to your sister. It is a tradition. All this, while she had given me or our daughter absolutely nothing, yet expected my husband to reward his sister for no reason. I knew I needed help, so I decided to undergo therapy, and I am at so much more peace now. The things I uncovered in therapy are a story for another day, but I will forever remember how she treated me when I was at my most vulnerable. I've learned to judge people solely by their actions, not just their words. Her actions made me feel reduced, depressed, and honestly, I even considered breaking my marriage. Sometimes, it still triggers those old, repressed emotions of how she treated me, but I find solace in the fact that she doesn't live with us, and I didn't purposely choose for her to be in my life. She showed me who she truly is, and I am grateful for having seen her true self. I have made a firm decision to protect myself and my marriage from her influence. My husband has since accepted his mistake of not prioritizing me during my postpartum period and has apologized profusely. He drew appropriate boundaries with his mom after that incredibly stressful phase of our marriage, realizing that her presence could have been the end of us. I'm so glad he did. Ironically, while I could never directly breastfeed, exclusive pumping became a blessing in disguise. I could ensure my baby drank enough milk timely, allowing us to develop a consistent sleep schedule. With this positive experience of exclusive pumping, I got the much-needed rest I needed, and in time, I was able to give my husband the benefit of the doubt. So, to any new mom out there, especially if you're exclusively pumping, don't let anyone make you feel less of a mom. Absolutely no one, and certainly not your mother-in-law. Protect your peace, protect your family, and remember, your well-being matters most. If you've enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more real-life narratives that hit close to home.